When I install a video game or download one, I always go first into the settings of the game. It is a must. I cannot install a game, launch it, and just start a new save file. I need to, first of all, take a deep dive into the settings of the game, because it's an impose. I have to check the graphical stuff out. I need to set the optimal settings for an optimal experience. And that's a problem. But unlike on console, if you launch a game and your computer cannot run it without stuttering just by launching the game and not caring about the settings, well, it dampers your experience once you're into the game. When there's the intense intro cutscene of your action game and suddenly you notice that, oh shit, it's going 2 frames per second, so I'm going to pause this intense chase cutscene and start lowering settings maybe. That can disrupt the flow and the excitement of the action, compared to consoles that do not have this problem with setting graphical settings for different rigs of computers. If you have the highest tech in your PC, you can just crank everything up to max and no care at all, and then boom, it's going to work perfectly at 120 frames per second and 4K or 8K, if it's the future you're in. But for me that have a mid-range PC, I need to be very careful about my adjustments, because if it's games from this generation, they're not going to run at their max settings. PS4 games? Maybe. PS5 games? Pray to God. So in the end, I do spend a lot of time in these settings to figure out what is the optimal way for me to play my game. And it sucks, because games generally do not give you a detailed description of what each setting does, or the different impact of each setting on the performance of your game. So it always makes me a bit anxious to launch a new game that I did not play already, because I just know I'm going to spend an hour or two in the settings to try to figure out what's the optimal setup for my rig. And if I launch the game and figure out that, oh shit, no, that doesn't work, I need to immediately go into the settings and just break the flow that I had in the gameplay to mess with the option menu. And I thought about actually 3 features that could greatly help this actually. In the old Source engine, I remember in Counter-Strike Source, when you went into your graphical settings, you could launch a separate instance of a corridor that would be in-game and displaying various elements of the game, textures, models, and you could see how your game runs and looks. And this is not a feature that I've seen in any game since. And this is genius, that you do not have to launch a new save file and mess in-game your settings. You can just have a benchmark setting inside the game to see how your experience will be. And that is something that is missing in modern games that should really be implemented, especially on computers, on PC games, so it would be a lot easier for people to customize their experience, I think. I also think that settings should have a lot of details and pictures of what it looks like at its different modes. If a setting is off or low, medium or high, there should be a different picture for each showing what the difference is, on top of a more detailed description and also how much this setting impacts your performance. Ultimately, personally in games, especially PC games, I prefer to have a smooth frame rate, a sweet 60 frames per second minimum, instead of 30 FPS or lower with higher fidelity. I prefer a smoother experience, because I have the feeling that when I play old games, it's always so good to have them run at 60 frames per second, even if they're not the prettiest looking. And in the end, graphics tend to go so far, it kind of blends in your mind at one point, but the smooth gameplay might be better for most people. It's better for me in any case. I do think that games should also have in-game frame rate benchmarks, and lots of games, especially on Steam, rely on the Steam overlay to use it to showcase their frame rate with the options that Steam offers. But I feel like in-game would work really well with this playground testing area idea I shared earlier that the Source engine did. It would marry very well with that, being able to see how your game runs and see the FPS benchmark on top. That would be really cool, I think. And I feel that in modern games, accessibility has been very important, and I feel that the next step is actually take this accessibility and apply it to the settings, because I think developers, companies expect the PC gamers to already know what each setting does. But the truth is there's many people like me who have a lot of trouble and have to do research every time to try to find their optimal way to play, and that just disrupts the experience and dampers the enjoyment and joy of launching a game when you realize you have to spend a few hours at minimum on your graphical tab, on your gameplay tab, on all the settings that the game offers, and having more accessibility tools in there and accessibility in general in the setting menu could go a long way towards dampening this stress and have a better time overall. I mean that you can see that the PC gaming, it can be accessible. The Steam Deck has been a great success, I think, and it is a device that is convenient and is a lot more casual than a traditional PC, because games sometimes, very often, that are Steam Deck verified, actually do offer, I think I remember that they do offer presets, right? That allow you to have a simple and smooth experience on your portable device. And that kind of shows that there's an appeal to have accessibility in PC gaming that consoles generally offers. So in conclusion to this short video, I do think that you can do a lot more to make your setting menu enjoyable, clear, very understandable, and a bit more complete with features to be able to find the perfect setup for your own computer. Because if the Source engine could do it 20 years ago, then it shouldn't be too bad to find a similar way to approach it now. And personally, it would greatly reduce the stress and the anxiety I feel when I need to dive into the settings menu, because I really feel compelled to do it, because I know that if I want the perfect and optimal experience, then I need to do it. It would be more enjoyable, it would be more inclusive, and everyone would gain from it. And it's not like I'm talking out of my ass either. I mean, there's plenty of YouTube channels that are dedicated to game settings and finding the optimal way to play, and there's definitely a community that really desires an easy approach to settings. Because let's face it, if I want to make content on the internet and want to stream games that I've never played before and that I did not tinker with before, do I really want to launch the stream and launch the game and then spend an hour just messing around in my menus? That would be a shit experience for the viewers, right? But if I could tinker the settings in the option menu before launching the live stream and know how the game runs and looks before launching a new save file, that would go a long way towards making my experience as a streamer and as a viewer much more enjoyable, I think. So what about you? Do you spend a lot of time in your PC game settings or in settings in general? How do you approach settings? Do you just use a preset, or do you comb the internet and YouTube for the perfect optimization for your game? And what do you think about the ideas I propose here? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next video. Cheers!